Hello, everyone, and welcome back to GaM sessions. As old ladies with, with a bottle of water and breakfast, we have a special guest with us today. Gisella, would you like to introduce her?
This is Lucy. She's my best friend.
Hi.
Hi. Awesome. So, you know what? Let's just dive into it. What's been coming up for you? Because I don't have anything prepared for today. I've just been reading a lot, so I'll go with
You're just
whatever
winging it?
comes up for you. Yeah.
Well, what have you been reading about?
So I started the book you suggested, Becoming Supernatural. And I again went down a rabbit hole because of the cave thing. Like I was interested in learning more about, I think it was in the pre-phase of it, right? Like the person who wrote the book. So I went down a rabbit hole, read a couple of pages, and then I've been listening to Know Thyself again. Like I started listening to that podcast again. So I was listening to patterns and vibrations and all that stuff, and it really hyped me up. So yeah, I mean that's what I've been up to in my world, basically.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then outside of that, just reading a lot of fan fiction, which I'd rather not mention here because I read some crazy fan fictions, you guys. Yeah.
I love that. Kurosami, here for it every single day.
I'm working on it. Yeah,
I'm so excited. For
coming.
those of you who don't know,
Yeah.
Madhuri was making me a fan fiction to read about Kurosami because we're nerds. So
Yes.
I'm so
It's going to be
excited.
pretty crazy. So you know what? It's just going to be really dope and awesome. I've been reading a lot of mafia fan fiction to prepare for it. So yeah.
Gotta prepare. Oh no.
Yeah.
Let me grab my journal so I can kind of see where I've been because
I was
I just started listening
Go
to
for it.
Know Thyself.
Yeah.
I'm probably like 4 episodes in. It's a lot to go through, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing for sure. It's a crazy ride.
it's so good. It just keeps getting better. I'm almost like caught up to like where they're at right now. And right now they're like breaking down like the tarot and the 12 labors of Hercules. And it's like it's good stuff.
That
It
I
is
could
good.
get excited about very quickly. Like Greek mythology laid on me. I'd be hearing that and listening to that like there's no tomorrow. Yeah.
I feel like I've always like enjoyed that people can like look into it because for some reason anytime I start reading about it my mind just goes somewhere else. Like for some reason I can't focus on Greek mythology. I don't know why.
Interesting.
I know because like it's really
I love Greek mythology.
it's
Me
really
too.
cool. Like the concepts of it all.
Like, why wasn't I born at that time?
Literally, like
Right.
I don't know why. Like my brain's like, this is okay. Like you don't have to pay attention. I'm like, but this is fun things. And they're like, nah, it's okay.
You
I'll
know
read
what?
something about
You know what? You should read like Percy Jackson series. Like those series are like it dives deep into Greek mythology. Like that's where my love for Greek mythology
one?
actually. The Percy Jackson series.
yeah.
Yeah. So like
For sure.
you have stories, but you also have like mythology kind of like mixed up into it. So like you won't get bored to like leave it midway through kind of a thing. But it's pretty interesting.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. I wonder if it's like I struggle with characters. Like if there's too many people in the book,
Yeah.
I cannot keep up. Like that's always been something. That's why like self-help books and like are a lot easier for me to read because I'm like, oh, this is just like you just read through it and you learn things about yourself rather than like there's 18 different people and they all have like different descriptions. I just get lost.
I love that though, because you're like, ooh, 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 like juggling all these people.
I can't do that. I don't know.
I feel
why.
like there's like a thin line for me where like if I have way too many characters, I'm just like, yeah, I'm bored already, right? Like there needs to be a nice balance between it. So like if you do end up reading the Percy Jackson series, the second part of it, the Olympus series, basically, that has a lot of characters and that could make you just go like, I wanna kind of a thing. Plus they include Roman mythology into it as well. So yeah. I mean, if you're interested enough in mythology, you can keep up with it, but it's fun, yeah.
I'll have to like work my way into Greek mythology because Yeah, it just seems like a lot, and I feel like I haven't learned very much of it, so it's like I have a lot to learn.
It's pretty interesting though, like
Stop learning mythology though.
True, it's never ending.
yeah.
I think that's why it's like intimidating.
There's also the
Like,
fact that there are no proper storylines. So like, the stories as they are stories, they keep getting retold, and people add their own in Hindi we like to call it mirchi masala. They like to add their own spice to it to make it seem interesting to whoever they're narrating it to. So it keeps changing as time goes on. So that's why there are a lot of versions of it. But I mean, it's really fun to actually understand where a lot of things happen. So like in modern if you look into the modern cinema, a lot of people show Medusa as this big bad lady who's just turning people into stone just for the fun of it, whereas in reality she was cursed. Like she was a maiden who was in love with Poseidon, so like they had an affair. And because Poseidon, who is the god of seas and oceans and stuff like that, and Athena, who's the goddess of wisdom, have like this um power struggle where they just hate each other basically. So what they ended up doing was Poseidon ended up having sex with her in Athena's temple, and Athena gets pissed off. So she curses not Poseidon, she curses Medusa, that anyone she looks to, like, she turns ugly, right? Like her luscious hair turns into snakes and all this stuff. So yeah, it's pretty messed up, but like there's a lot of deep stuff into it. And like I was saying, like people shift perspectives very easily, so kind of getting into the depth of it is kind of interesting as to what really happened in there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like I've been, even with listening to the Know Thyself podcast, they've been looking or talking about the 12 labors of Hercules, and I think I enjoy more the interpretation of the stories where they can be shifted in the perspective of like different concepts and ideas and archetypes that relate to someone personally. So like the 12 labors of Hercules is just our journey through the 12 zodiacs. So I don't know if you guys knew that. So it's like Hercules is us. He's the bastard child, where he is the son of a divine father and an earthly mother, which is what we are. We have like creator or source or universe that is divine, and then we're also of the earth, of Mama Earth, right? So it's like that combination, and then like moving into the 12 labors, starting with the first, which is Aries, which is the first house. Like he like works through it, and as he goes through the labors, like you realize he's actually like integrating and learning from all the different zodiac signs. So like when I think about it like that, like I'm like, okay, I want to look into this a little bit more. It's not like a story to me. It's like, oh, I haven't been looking behind the words, which is really important to do with Greek mythology. Because I know
with any mythology, right?
Yeah, because like even with Hades and Persephone, I believe, like she was taken into the underworld, and he like took her, right? But she's also like the goddess of like almost like spring, of like beauty or whatever, right? So it that whole story is just based on the like talking about how women have experienced and will constantly experience death. They will always be rooted within like knowing more than a man, because they experience death every month and because they continue to rise up. And so it's like not only is it talking about like the different weathers and like seasonal things, but also like the idea of like the feminine like energies, and like how we also know our depths and also can blossom really big as well, because we do.
That's
so it's like
really interesting.
So like when I learned stuff like that, I'm like, now I'm interested. But if it's like, oh yeah, and like the satyr did this, and then like this guy did this, I'm like kind of bored from it for some reason. Maybe my imagination's not all there. I'm too logical for it. But when there is an explanation like that, I'm always in. Yeah.
I've never seen it like that, and it's kind of, it makes me want to like go back to the stories and see what, how could I shift my perspective around this and use that in. I'm sorry?
Yeah, it's like having to go back and read between the lines.
Yeah, and it's crazy, right? Like having the opportunity to do that, it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, technically they just represent, like I said, like different archetypes. They're not actually like a male that did this, like an actual god that did it. It's like, no, it's like an archetype. It's an idea, it's a belief that was able to transform, and it took this shape because of how it's depicted in life or whatever. But yeah, I like learning about it in that way.
Fun.
But
Yeah.
I do have my journal if you're ready to get into it. Yeah.
Get into it. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to start backwards with the last message I received during a meditation-ish that I did. I have been struggling with a few things, and I feel like everyone's kind of in like a weird, it's almost like cognitive dissonance where we know what we need to be doing, but our bodies are almost like either too tired or in resistance to what is.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to start with this message. Don't do it the way you did. Don't move backwards because there is no such thing. Cross the bridge already and stop holding on to what was. You know what works and you know what doesn't. Go back and analyze, take note, make it more you. You're still reaching for something that's been inside of you all this time. So, I mean, at least for me, I've been feeling a lot of almost like inadequacy and confusion with where I've been trying to move towards. And I keep trying to have like an external safety net, but and I also feel kind of like held back because what I'm trying to move towards is something that I've already done. So I'm having like this weird like, well, I'm not where I'm moving backwards because I want to do something I've already done. It's like, well, no, you're constantly moving forward with a new perspective. It's always a higher octave that you're viewing it from.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm going through.
I love
I
that.
pulled a card yesterday that said was like talking about letting go of the old, but the card itself, the picture on it was everything starting at the beginning eventually like flowed into something else. So like the woman's hair, it was flowing into like a river, and another woman was like catching some water. So even I feel like when we let go of the old, we're not, it's not like banishing it necessarily, but it's transforming it. So even if you've already visited something in the past, you're transforming it into something new moving forward, right?
Yeah, I love that because that's the thing. A lot of times when we try to move away from the past, like you said, we are like, no, 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 no. But there's a lot of knowledge that we can take from it that helps us be like, okay, this is something that I did in the past and it didn't work, and this is something that I did in the past that did work. So how can I take the things that did work and shift it to where I am right now and shift the perspective around it and make it into something that can be useful for me now? Yeah, the ebb and flow that we were talking about, right? Like it's not completely removed from it, it's just taking some from it and giving some back, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and that's what I got with like the make it more you part.
Mhm.
I was like, because there are parts and aspects like when you stop doing something, it's for a reason. And if you actually take the time to look back and you're honest with yourself and you're like, okay, these are the things I did like and these are the things I didn't like. But if those things are necessary, how can I make it easier for myself or make it more me? So when I do have to implicate these specific things, like, or yeah, if I have to do these specific things, like, how can I make it easier for me to integrate myself into it?
Yeah.
So, like, I have a lot of ideas and I'm really excited to like be moving forward, but Lucy knows this because she was here yesterday, but like yesterday I was like crying and we like
Oh,
had like a
no.
moment by a river, and like it was just really nice to get out in nature and really like sit with your feelings and kind of take a look at what is the resistance. Like, why are you having resistance to this change? Like, and Marley called me out on this. She was like, it's because you think it's too easy. Like, it's too easy. You know that you can do it, and you're so used to working too hard. And it's something that, yeah, right? Like it's something that you know yourself, you can trust yourself, but you're worried because in previous times you didn't show up. And I like, yesterday I was talking about how it's almost like any relationship. If I treated my business like a relationship, I would not have a relationship because I'm being an ass. I'm gonna be honest. Because I have all these expectations for my business, but we'll call it my partner right now. I have all these expectations for my partner. They're not meeting my expectations and I'm not showing up. So it's like, whose fault is that?
Stop it. Stop talking about me that way.
It's like I came here to have a good time, but I'm feeling attacked right now. But okay. Seriously though, like, oh, that too easy thing hit me really hard because I think I've told you this, like when I started coaching, I was like, this is way too easy. Something's not right. I need to make it difficult. Like, why is this so easy? Because I've been used to doing stuff where I've been working my ass off the entire time. And that makes me feel like I've earned whatever I'm doing. But then coaching came easy and I was like, okay, something's wrong here. Like, why is this happening? And it almost made me want to stop doing it, right? Like, I was like, let's hit a pause on this because this doesn't feel right, because this feels too easy. So is that something that's happening with you as well though?
A little bit. I feel like I just like procrastinate things I love to do for myself, which is crazy. And I'm like, well, I'll do it after I do the dishes. I'll like sit down and write a whole course because that makes sense. But yeah, like it's something that comes naturally to me to be able to, like you said, like coach people, like have students to guide through life or into themselves a little bit more. And it's interesting watching my resistance to it because I haven't shown up in the past, even though I do know it's easy. And the reason I don't show up because it's like that same thing where, oh, well, it's too easy. It's not hard enough. How do I make it harder on myself? But it's like, why are you trying to create problems?
Yeah.
I watched a video yesterday and this guy was talking about how the majority of our lives are living on that plateau, but most of us aren't willing to accept that. We just live like, in the middle, and we want the extremes, like the super high highs and the super low lows. And that's when we have to, it's not easy, right? We're like, oh, we're doing it. But really, the secret is the easy, that middle plateau.
I feel like it's also, like I read this somewhere. It was in a book by a spiritual guru called Osho. I don't know if you guys are aware of him, but he was like really big in India and even in abroad actually. But he basically said that, we have a lot of resistance to change because we are already very comfortable with our past, right? Shifting to go forward is like leaving the things that we are already aware of, we know, like with the back at the back of our hand kind of a stuff, right? Like even in the dark, if someone wakes you up and asks you something about your past, you're comfortable enough to speak about it, to be in it. But the moment someone brings you a torch and says you don't have to be in the dark, you can go forward, you can have this life filled with light and brightness and stuff like that, you're almost like, why though? Like, I know that is what we are aiming for, but why? Why should we change? Why should we actually embrace that? Because how can someone just come and give us the torch, right? Like, why would this person give us the torch? There's all these kind of trust issues that come up, and we start to feel like the other person's deceiving us for all the knowledge that is bringing us, that's pushing us towards the brightness. So yeah, that was something that actually stayed with me a lot, because that's something that I do a lot. Like I was saying, I'm so used to working hard that working easy was like, are you sure this is the right thing for me to do? Kind of a thing. Yeah. Even though that was what I was aiming for. Like, I don't want to work the entire day. I am not that kind of a person. I want to watch movies and TV serials and read books and stuff like that. Like, who wants to work all day long? Yeah. I watched Moon Knight for the second time, and yeah, I mean, I'm that kind of a person. I rewatch shows, I read a lot of books, and just thinking that I have to work hard doesn't make sense for me. Like, I would like to work like 2 hours or 3 hours of a day, and that would be more than enough for me, right? And I know it sounds kind of like I'm this luxurious person, but I'm really not. I'm just an introverted person who just likes to be with herself like 90% of the time. Yeah.
But like, where's the enjoyment in working 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day?
Absolutely no. I can tell both of you right now, it's not fun. As someone who has a job, it's not fun.
Oh god.
Oh, yeah, I feel like change is always something that I've had. I used to be really, really good at it, but it's because I didn't care. Like I was like, I know things are going to change, and so I won't care about things. So when it does change, it's easier to shift, right? But then I became very almost absent from my life, where it was like, I know things are gonna shift, and I'm gonna be moving, or I'm gonna like new things are gonna come around, and that's just always how it goes. But the second you like start planting your feet and enjoying yourself and like doing things for yourself, when that change comes, it's scary. And I don't think it's about adapting to the change. It's about realizing how you best like move with the change. So that's something that I've been focusing on lately, is like, I know things are going to change. Like, how can I prepare myself for what's to come? And how can I allow for the space? How can I create the space for what's to come to be like at the greatest, like highest level? So if I'm taking action from a point of view as like, I'm going to be receiving all of these beautiful things I desire, then you start preparing your space for that, like embodying like your actual true excellence, rather than being like, well, tomorrow I have to do this, so I'm going to make sure I'm ready for that. It's like, well, why don't you do like what you do today, like you prepare for something that will like blow your mind for tomorrow. And I feel like procrastination, that is what I suffer from. I am a severe procrastinator. And I feel like that has like stopped me from preparing who I want for, yeah, it stopped me from preparing myself for who I want to be. And it's like, I don't know, I've been in like this weird like transition where I'm like not allowing myself to let go of who I was or embrace who I was, to the point of accepting what's to come. And when you procrastinate, you almost like push your duties till tomorrow. And then when you're in tomorrow, you're doing all your duties from yesterday, and then you miss all the signs that were for that day. And it sucks.
Well, I feel like when you're procrastinating, you're just lacking being grounded. So you're like not in the present because you're putting everything off, and then you move to the next day and you have to do, like you said, the things of yesterday, and you're just like untethered, or untethered in a
Yeah,
way.
because it's almost like you're too worried, you're too anxious about the future because you're worried it'll be exactly like the past. So you take action to
Inaction, right?
take action or inaction about to like make sure it doesn't happen, but in doing so you literally do you manifest that exact same thing, because if you do act, you act out of that lack of self-trust and self-confidence and like competence and etc.
Yeah. So I want to ask you this, like, what do you do when you actually procrastinate, right? What are you doing during that time when you're procrastinating? Or what are you saying to yourself when you're procrastinating?
I'm the most productive procrastinator you will ever meet. I do everything that doesn't matter so I can ignore all the things that do.
That's still procrastination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll like do with the dishes, I'll like vacuum the house, like I will clean so I can like have a nice space to work in, instead of like working and then like taking breaks to clean, which I know would be so much better. But I'm like, I'm the kind of person that says, but first, let me do this. And I know when I say that now, that means that I'm procrastinating something that could change my life. It's like, well, but first, I want to do this. It's like, why am I putting myself last? And I constantly do that. So yeah.
So what are you going to change if you are already aware of it, right? Like that's huge that you're already aware that this is something that you do a lot. What are you going to do to change it?
Lately I've been noticing that I have a lot of almost like it's like dogmatic like beliefs where like I have too much discipline in aspects that don't really matter, if that makes sense. Like when I meditate, sometimes I focus too much on the letting go and clearing my mind because I'm really good at that. I can just have nothing in my head and it's really nice. But when that happens, it often fills with like beautiful ideas. And when that happens, sometimes I'm like, no, I have to like have a blank mind. So like I force them out and I'm like, didn't I meditate so I can get ideas? Like I'm so silly. So it's like I have some beliefs that I need to look at and redefine and just like reconstruct, because what once helped me is now hindering me, and I need to be able to constantly change those aspects so I can grow. So
transform them,
alchemize them. So I think one thing is, yeah, transforming some beliefs whenever they come up and I realize that they're holding me back. And I think whenever I've been trying to figure this one out, like whenever I say, but first I need to, whenever I say that, I usually try to now like see what I'm putting off and start there and then kind of work my way into everything else. Because I've realized if I make the time for me first, everything else gets done. But if I put myself last, I will not even get time with myself, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy.
Yeah. I want to ask you something, and you can ignore this question altogether if it is wrong for me to ask. But I have a feeling, G, that are you procrastinating with the concept of preparing yourself, right? Like, do you think that I'm preparing space for my future and hence I will procrastinate? Is that something that's happening, or is it like something completely different? Yeah.
No, yeah, like my feelings of inadequacy often like make me over prepare so I'm ready for anything, so I feel like I know enough, I have enough written down that I am enough, so I can start showing up. And that's definitely something I've been battling for a while, just like knowing that I know I'm confident and I know I have the skills that I need, and that I'm constantly learning about my skills and like what I'm good at. And even then, like I have these ideas of, okay, but I need to prep. So when that time comes, like I'm ready. And I'm like, but I am ready and I will always be ready for whatever's to come, because
what a catch-22.
right, like whatever's going to show up is not going to show up for someone who's not ready for it. So it's, my cognitive dissonance is at 110 right now. Like it's, my brain knows, but my body's still scared, you know? And I think that's kind of where I'm at, where I have to kind of regulate my body and be like, hey, no, like we're okay. Like, let's just move forward. It's okay. Let's just move forward, instead of like allowing my body's like tendencies to keep me back.
Yeah. Like, think about what's the worst that could happen if you do end up in a situation where you're not prepared for it. Like, what's the worst that could happen?
You learn.
Lucy out here spitting back. Yeah, I feel like I just don't like seeming like small or stupid. I don't like feeling that way.
But who's thinking
Sorry.
that way, right? Like, is it your judgment or is it someone else's?
Me.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's definitely me. And it's not like, even if someone else like missays something or misinterprets or anything, like I'm not gonna be like, you're dumb, right? Like I don't do that to anyone else. I feel as if I'm very like gracious and I don't have any judgments, only curiosity always to other people. But when it comes to me, and I wrote this down too, like I can be so vulgar with myself sometime, like I'm like completely unfair.
Yeah.
And just recognizing that, like it's hard. It like makes you want to embrace all the past
Yeah.
versions of yourself, because it's like, dude, I was not fair to myself
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Like there's been a few times where I'm like, I treated you damn well. But like most of the time it's like I
think we can be pretty disgusting towards ourselves. I'll catch myself with my boyfriend. I'm like, I'll do something and I'm upset about it. He's like, you need to stop. Like, what are you thinking right now? And I tell him, he's like, no, you have to stop that right now. Like, you wouldn't talk to anyone in that way. Why are you talking to yourself in that way? And we're just not, by nature, I don't think we're good to ourselves.
Yeah.
well, I feel like part of it is like growing up, that's how at least I was taught, right? They kind of beat the dumb out of you by being rude. And it doesn't make any sense now, because even I like, do you need a help? Is he stuck? Sorry, my cat's like stuck. He's like asleep, but his claws like stuck in the silly boy.
Oh no.
um yeah, like it's almost as if you didn't do something correctly, it would be like reprimanded out of you. Like you would have to feel the consequences to make sure you understood, like it's your circumstances, whatever your circumstances are, the judge in your head has to be greater than the circumstance, so whatever happens does not happen again. So it will be more vulgar and more intense, so literally, so next time you're not stupid enough to do it again.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something like I said, like I don't do that with people either, because I don't believe punishment teaches people. I don't.
Yeah.
I believe we're either looking for, like, there's redirection. You can always like show someone something different, but if they do something wrong, they're going to need nurturing, because they're going to be beating themselves up about it. Like you need to encourage them and validate their experience, and reassure them like what they did is okay. Maybe it's not okay, but them feeling bad about it is more than enough, and you don't need to continuously like beat yourself up for it.
Yeah.
So I always say like appreciate the good things that people do, and if someone does something bad, like recognize that they're probably suffering just as much as you are if it's something bad.
Yeah. Like I have this thing. So I used to do this a lot, and I started to do this exercise basically. And I don't know if it will help you or not, but whenever you do end up scolding yourself or like, beating yourself up about it, our instant reaction, because we are like all these woke people, our instant reaction is to be like, no, stop doing that. Right. But oftentimes that voice comes off as a punishing voice, right? It's like, no, don't do that, that's wrong, don't do that. So rather, what I tend to do is I'm like, okay, you know what, let's sit down, let it all out, like word vomit, whatever's coming up for you, let it all out. And then do the same thing that you just said, like once it's all out, you're like, go back to it and be like, okay, thank you for letting that come into awareness that I was dumb to do this, but I'm still learning from my experiences. I'm still, like, work on yourself and appreciate yourself, I feel like that goes a long way. Because when we try to stop something from, when we try to stop thinking something, our instant reaction is to think that bigger, right? So let it all out, and then you start to be like, okay, you know what, let's calm down, let's work on ourselves, what's happening, what's coming up for us, why do you feel like I'm dumb? Like, coach yourself in that time, because I know you are a great coach. I think that works really, really well. Yeah.
No, yeah, you're completely right. Like, it wants to be heard. Like, there's a reason it's coming up. And I haven't talked to Brittany in a long time, which is like my alter ego. I don't know if you guys
I remember,
yeah. Okay. So it's been a while since I actually like spoke with my sassy self. And I feel like it's true. Like, that's something that I probably needed to be reminded of, because it's when you shut something down or you close something off, it just wants to be heard more until it's done talking. And once it's done talking, like, you're able to understand where it's coming from. And I think that's something I've forgotten along my journey, is just being able to talk to myself in that way. And maybe it's, I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, that's definitely something I need to be doing again.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for that reminder.
You're most welcome. Thank you. Yeah. I feel like water should have been my first choice to go with, because I'm speaking a lot better than I've done in the past 2 episodes where I've been sipping on tea, being all wise. Like, water. Water should have been my first choice.
Put water in a tea mug so you feel fancy still, but you're still just drinking.
That makes sense.
Oh, all right. Oh, let's see.
While Gisella picks up something, gentle reminder to hydrate yourself, you guys. Literally, drink all the water you can and pee as much as you want to. It's gonna give you clear skin. Like, I just okay, drink water. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's like the biggest thing that I've been learning this week, is just like understanding how to move through or feel through my inadequacy, because it's not true. I feel like because I stopped like coaching people like for money, that I like failed as a coach, and that's something that I need to like keep coming back to and being like, you didn't and you're not. Like, I'm still teaching people, I'm still coaching people like every single day, and I'm a great leader, and I'm successful, and I'm like a great listener, and I do all these things, and that makes me a great coach. Being able to help people makes me a great coach. It's not being able to like make money solely from this specific part of my business doesn't make me a great coach. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
And I feel like redefining those kinds of beliefs, because you do and you are able to talk to yourself about it and like be honest with yourself and transparent, that you're able to reach those parts of like those concepts and beliefs that you may have that no longer serve you and that have been holding you back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I might quit my job.
Nice. Yeah.
Excited. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, so I have to ask Lucy, is she just as chaotic as this in her real life? Because she's weird when she's in a space with me. So I just wanted to know if she's just as chaotic as this in real life as well. Yeah.
Define chaotic.
Her. Yeah, I mean, just overall wise, but crazy energy kind of a thing.
A wise child. Just do whatever.
Definitely a wise child.
Yeah.
I think she's both the maiden and the crone.
I was thinking about that the other day, how I like moved into, like, I feel like I've moved into like the mother cycle.
Oh, she's very much the mother though. I don't know. She's like
All of them. I feel like
she
I'm all of them.
embodies feminism.
Ayo, let's get it.
Oh god.
My
Yeah.
goal. Body feminism. Divine feminine. That's me.
Yeah.
But it's been very interesting to see her on this journey
Mm.
because when I first met her, she wasn't in the spirit. She was beginning on the spiritual path, right?
Yeah.
We weren't.
I mean, we were
fully
drunk
into
at a
it.
party when we met.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So it's been very, I don't know, like a unique experience to watch her grow.
Nice.
And Luci was one of my first clients too. So.
Ooh, that's cool.
Forever client. Forever
client.
forever student. That's the word I wanted to be using instead now. Student.
Yeah, I feel like client. I don't like
No.
even referring to my clients as clients.
Right?
My friends that come get massages
For money.
Yeah.
Massage them.
that tell me about their entire lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Student. Forever student. Cute.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But same. I'm also a forever student.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we are all forever students. Like, oh, this thing came up for me, you know, like I was watching our second episode, like I was editing it and I was like, yo, I sound so dumb in this. Like, what the damn hell is up with me? And to be honest, I said this to you as well, right? Like, usually when someone comes up in front of me and they know a lot more than I do about something, I'm instantly triggered by it. Like, my instant reaction is to stop watching them, stop looking at anything that they do, and I get jealous very quickly. Like, I just get jealous, right? I'm just threatened by it almost. Yeah. Like, oh, I remember I asked my mom to watch a few YouTube videos for research and she started watching them. And then she kept watching them and watching them. And I was like, that's enough. Like, stop watching them so much. Like, you're supposed to be watching me. What the damn hell is wrong with you? So it's like, what is wrong with you? You asked me to watch them and they talk about really good stuff. And I'm like, okay. Like, okay, so I feel like I had to go through that journey, but every time I'm in your presence, you give off this energy where I don't feel threatened by you, where, you know, I feel inspired to learn more when I am in your presence. It could be part of my own journey of learning to let go of that jealousy of being like, you don't know enough. Like, I was talking about this with my mom today, you know, I was like, I feel like I don't know enough to hold a conversation with a lot of people when it comes to the spiritual community, because I've just experienced stuff. And for a long time, I was like, I am happy with where I am right now. But now I'm like, why am I happy? I want to learn more. I want to grow more, right? And for a long time, every time I would be in a situation like that, I'd be like, oh, they know so much more than me. I don't know enough. I don't know enough. I don't know enough. I'll never know enough. And after a point of time, you know, I just started questioning myself. Well, if you don't know enough, why don't you go there and learn more about it, right? It's like, don't act smart with me.
Tell me how to solve my problem.
Yes. I was saying that to my own self, and then I was like, you know what, calm down and let's work on this. So I feel like I've had that concept, especially with you. I've always had that notion of being a student and being a grateful student when I am at it, right? Like, I don't feel threatened by your presence, which is why I'm genuinely so grateful to be your friend. It's like, yeah, tell me more. Let me learn as much as I possibly can from you. So it's cool to have a friendship like that. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. I literally had a dream the other night where I was talking I was like in a tent and I was talking to this child, and this child was, as she was speaking, I was like, I remember listening intently while thinking to myself, like, I hope what I say doesn't make her feel belittled, right? Like, I want her to know that even though she's asking me for like my wisdom, that she knows the answer already. Like she's asking me to, just so she can like approve of what her own answer is, right? Like that's why we, like, she's almost asking for permission to be herself in a way, right? So as she was like talking to me, I just remember saying like, well, what do you think about this? Like, what does it mean to you? And then like the dream continued. But then that same day, I was like, I really need like maybe just some like reassurance that I am on like a journey, and like I always forget how far I've come, and it's always nice to have that reminder. And like Madhurima sent me like 2 paragraphs of like really sweet words, and one of them was that like that I don't ever make her feel inferior when I do have like knowledge that she doesn't have. And I was like, that's literally what my dream was about. Like, I'm so happy that I actually like am able to portray and like hold that space for people, because it's, I don't ever want people to feel small just because they don't know about like a subject, because their skills are something that I will never have. And I think it's like coming into that space, like knowing and respecting that this person has and knows so much more about what they know about than what I do, right? And I think, yeah, thank you for saying that.
I'll try to put like those Japanese flowers kind of falling down on you guys when you're doing this, but I mean I'll try. Ooh. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So my phone's at 8%. So let's wrap this up.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Okay. I think, first of all, thank you for allowing us to come on here.
Okay, stop. What? Oh god, okay. Sorry, continue. Yeah. My dramatic self came out for a second there, but yeah, continue.
I think there's a lot of change happening right now. We started into Gemini season, the new moon's coming up. There's a lot of emotions that we've been trying to let go of, but also embrace. Duality. Every shadow comes from a specific source of light. So if you're trying to move towards something, recognize those shadows as aspects that are going to be present. You need to find a way to work with them, and notice that every emotion that arises within you is so, oh my god, my phone's gonna die. Okay, every emotion that arises within you is something that is trying to tell you and lead you towards a better path. Okay, I love you.
Lucy, parting words before this ends. Anything you want to say?
Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah.
That is all. It's too much pressure. I can't do it. What would you like to say?
I like to say, just go out there, love yourself, and just be graceful and in a lot of gratitude to your own self when you're going through these emotions, because these emotions will come up. And yeah, just wanted to remind you that it's okay if they do end up coming up. It's not like the world's gonna end if you think that, all these emotions coming up, the negative emotions that come up. But yeah, go out there, love yourself, have a lot of fun, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Yes.
I love you, Madhurima.
Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.